So recently, I stumbled upon an Ask Reddit post where someone asked the question, people who don't reply until days later, why? And the response by user Spizmac caught my attention. They wrote, it's a relatively new phenomenon that basically anyone in your life can get access to you at all times. It was only 20 years ago that if you left the house for the day, you were actually gone. You'd return messages when you came back hours or even days later. And this response deeply resonated with me because for years I felt almost chained to my phone and its notifications. You would think that turning your phone on silent would solve this problem, but no. I still felt a sense of dread that there were messages that I felt like I needed to immediately reply to. I'm not sure if this is an introvert thing or just a general human thing, but these expectations of having to answer people right away felt really draining. It's interesting to me how we've been conditioned to feel like it's rude to not check our phones all day. Conditioned to feel guilt, to feel selfish, to feel like we're doing something wrong. Am I being inattentive? Am I being neglectful? Will I miss out on something important? Maybe something super exciting? These thoughts would knock me out of living in the present because instead of taking in all of the beautiful moments around me, I'd get distracted by this little virtual world inside of my phone. And only after a 3-week social media detox did it dawn on me. We humans are not designed to be perpetually available to everyone at all times. And don't get me wrong, I think if someone is asking a very direct question, like for example, they need to find out what time an event is, or your address on the day that you're hosting a party, or there's some kind of crisis and you see the message, you should respond to it. Otherwise, yes, that is very rude. But also at that point, this person should just call you. So a month or so ago, I spent some time at my brother's cottage by the lake, and it was really nice to just get away and reset and escape from all of the daily noise of life. But every so often, my brother would catch me reaching for my phone, and he made a very interesting analogy comparing modern cell phones to cigarettes, and it really made me think. Back in the day, it was acceptable for our grandparents to socialize in smoke-filled rooms no matter who was present. There would be children, elderly people, pregnant women, the list goes on, and people were always smoking. It wasn't socially taboo to take out a cigarette inside a restaurant or on a flight, for example. But now, we are living in a world and a time where we always have our phones with us, usually in hand, and they are equally addictive. And it's for the exact same reason we used to chain smoke cigarettes. It's the hunger for dopamine. Have you ever been in a situation where you were really excited to hang out with someone, and when you finally did, they would just sit on their phone scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, not fully engaged with you in the moment? Or you would turn on a movie and you would be very, very excited to show them this movie, and your friend would just sit on their phone the entire time. I know I've been in this exact situation. Heck, I've been guilty of doing that myself. Or how many times have you reached for your phone as a shield against an awkward moment or just from sheer boredom? Once again, I am super guilty of this. And when something begins to feel more like a crutch than a tool, we have a problem on our hands. For the vast majority of human history, we were not accessible to everyone around the clock. But today, our devices keep us connected every second, bombarding our minds in ways they're simply not evolved to handle. We're caught in a never-ending cycle of notifications and dopamine rushes, far from the natural ebb and flow of life. And what I really need to relearn is the ability to live in the present. In the present, just as we did as kids when we were running around outside with no concept of time and just the bliss of our surroundings and our friends. A 2022 study in the BMC Psychiatry journal highlighted a disturbing pattern. Students feeling anxious, down, or stressed would frequently use their phones as an escape from their reality. But the part that was really ironic is that the frequent phone usage was identified as a primary trigger for the negative emotions that they were experiencing in the first place. So in other words, heightened phone engagement increases feelings of anxiety and stress, and then people are pushed even more to rely on their phone in search of relief, and then the cycle just continues. And phones have also been directly tied to reduced attention and productivity, the fear of missing out, depression, anxiety, the constant chase of dopamine, as well as sleep disruption. These are all symptoms of phone addiction.
Exposure to screen type light between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. activates a specific circuit in a brain area called the habenula that lowers dopamine and creates a sense of disappointment. So it's pro-depressive.
So every teenager in the world is depressing themselves.
That's right.
And so, my friends, I have been trying to be mindful of how reliant I am on my phone recently, and I found 4 tips that help me stop constantly reaching for it. Number 1 is set boundaries. Set boundaries for yourself and for your friends. Designate specific times a day that you will not check any social media platforms. I found it most beneficial to disconnect during the early morning and right before bed, as these periods significantly influence our mood because our subconscious minds are the most active right after we wake up and as we are going to sleep. Another tip is to turn off all non-essential notifications for your social media apps. And if you are bold, maybe delete the apps entirely. Instagram now has a quiet mode that I've been using, and it has been fantastic. But also, set boundaries with your friends. Let them know that you are not ignoring them if you've seen a message and haven't yet responded. Normalize giving yourself time to reflect on a message and wait until you have a moment in your day where it makes sense to respond. Your responses will be better anyway because you'll have more time to give them justice. Number 2, embrace a digital detox. Kickstart your journey by dedicating 1 day a week to a social media-free and text-free existence. If you need to be connected for work, then dedicate hours after and before work to this. As you become more accustomed, consider lengthening this break, stretching it to a full week or even 2. Number 3, practice mindful consumption. Exercise intentionality when using your phone. Instead of aimlessly scrolling on TikTok or Instagram, pinpoint the exact reason you're on your phone. Are you checking in to see how your sick friend is feeling? Great. Complete the mission you've set for yourself, do it, and then disconnect. Another way to mindfully consume is by curating your digital space. Visualize your feed as your online neighborhood or as your little kingdom, and you are its leader. If certain accounts foster negativity or diminish your joy, unfollow or mute them. Cultivate a digital space that uplifts and inspires you. Number 4, replace the phone habit. Figure out why you keep reaching for your phone as much as you do. Is it because you're bored? Do you feel lonely? Do you want to procrastinate on something? Once you realize why you keep turning to your phone, you can find other habits and activities that will fulfill that need in a much more productive and positive way. If boredom's the culprit, it's time to ignite or reignite a passion. Dust off that guitar in the corner, or start that novel that you've been putting off, or maybe join a new sports team. If it's loneliness, maybe meet with a friend or immerse yourself in a local club or community that has shared interests. And if it's procrastination, which is something I'm really guilty of, getting rid of your phone will help you focus that much more because you will have much fewer distractions. In this digital age, our phones are extensions of ourselves, but it's crucial to remember that we control them and they don't control us. I wonder if in the same way that we now have smoke-free zones, companies in the future will create no phone restrictions as a unique selling point. Maybe for the hipsters of tomorrow. But I think it could be an interesting idea and a necessary antidote for people who are eager to rediscover the joys of an unplugged life. But now I am super curious about your thoughts. When was the last time you detoxed from your phone, and have you ever? Or maybe you disagree and you feel like we should be accessible at all times. I anticipate some people raging and being all like, you're just rude and entitled. Be happy that you have people who want to talk to you. And to you kind people, I say, I would love to discuss this in the comments with you. I'll do my best to respond, maybe. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my future uploads. I'm excited to share more of my ramblings in my next video, and I hope to see you there. Goodbye.